Screen share. Screen sharing is disabled for me. Okay. Hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So basically, I'll be taking you based on this DevOps lifecycle. So I'll come to this first. So quickly, I'll explain you what is DevOps and also. And then today we'll see Azure Azure repository, and so if you'll see, I'll be covering about what is DevOps, why do you need DevOps, and then DevOps lifecycle and DevOps REST additional of REST, Agile with the DevOps, which is very popular now, and DevOps principle and DevOps automations tool. And if you see, mostly I take these. Mostly I cover these tools. So if you see here, the DevOps cycle, I keep DevOps cycle in mind. Like we have to first plan our project, and then we have to start building the project like a code activity, and then build up this code, test and deploy. It's like a build, test, deploy is come under CI/CD part, and the monitor. So as part of like a project planning tool, I'll be covering Jira, Trello, and Azure board. And source control tool, I'll be covering Azure repo and GitHub. If you want only like Azure repo need to be covered, so that also fine. And for since I came to know that you guys are very much interested in Azure DevOps only, so as part of the build and deploy, we'll be covering only Azure pipeline and an artifact, this Azure artifact. And we'll just talk about like a Docker and Kubernetes concept. And in the testing tool, the Sonar Cube and the Sonar Cloud, and monitoring Splunk and Azure Monitor, and infra as a code, Ansible and Terraform, and we'll see the scripting languages, PowerShell. So basically, I take the session on these tools. Okay, and if you are more interested only in the Azure DevOps, so we'll go with the Azure DevOps services only. And I'll jump back to PPT. I'll not take much time on explaining the PPT and all. I can share you this PPT, you can go through it. So basically, I'll just explain what is the DevOps and why it is getting so popular. So DevOps is nothing but, if you see this, it is made up of two words, like a dev is for development, ops is for operational. So basically, DevOps is a bridge between the development and operational team. So it integrates the development team with the operational team. And before that, there was a many limitations. So because once developer was developing the code, they were mailing, they were asking tester to test it, and also there was a lot of full timing. And so, so what was the main advantage of DevOps is it's reduced the overall development cycle, and the like a project executions plan and the timing has reduced because of the DevOps, because you have set up many automations process and all. So starting with the infrastructure automations, and then we have like a CI/CD automations, like a continuous integrations and continuous deployment pipeline. So we'll see all these concept. One is discuss about the Azure pipeline. So basically, as of now, we just have to understand the DevOps is like a bridge between the development and operational team. Mm, it helps us to ensure the delivery faster and overall reduce the timing. So these were the previous challenges, few of the challenges, like dev challenges and DevOps solutions. So I'll just quickly directly come to this DevOps life cycle. So if you see this, the DevOps life cycle is in the so we start every project. Start with the planning. Means we need to plan. We need to gather the requirement and all. So we need some tools to capture your requirement, right? So if you are talking especially to Azure DevOps, we have Azure board for that. So where you can capture all your requirement and all. If you have any project specific related documentations, we can create a wiki page, and you can put all your project requirement specific inside a wiki page. And then once you are done with the planning of your project, then we have to start with the development activity. So the first thing you need to create is we need to create a repository because we need to save our code safely. So for that we need a versions control tool. There are the various versions control tool available in the market, like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and SVN. And if you are talking especially to Azure DevOps, then we have Azure repo. We can store our code in Azure repo. So we need to know how you can create a repository. So we'll see how to create repository, how to maintain various branch and all, what should be your branching strategy, and then how we can commit the code, how we can move the code from one branch to other branch. Basically, we'll see how we can create a pull request and all. And then coming to the build, test, and release. So build and test is a part of CI pipeline. So where you'll see how we can create Azure pipeline. So again, there is a two type of pipeline if you are talking especially to Azure. So we have like a classic editor pipeline and ML based pipeline. So we'll see both. And see, continuous integration is nothing but as soon the developer will checking the code in repository, it should trigger your build pipeline. And inside of build pipeline, mainly will be calling 4 and 5 tasks. One is like a first thing is check out the code, and then if you are working with the infrastructure, then we don't have to build that code. But if you are working with the applications code, we have to build this code. So considering if you are working with the Java application, then we can build your application using Maven plugin. So you need to build the code. You can integrate any unit testing. If your tester has written any script, you can integrate that script also. Yeah, we can integrate a code coverage tool along with your CI pipeline. So we'll see all these. And then we have like a release pipeline, and that is called CD pipeline. Every CD pipeline will be linked with the CI pipeline. So as means once the CD or CI pipeline is completed, we'll get a deployable package and we need to put that into artifact. And in CD pipeline, we'll be taking that artifact and deploying it into the target environment and like a target server. So it can be anything like so that is a part of like a release and deployment. And then we have the operate and monitor. So suppose if you have deploy your applications on like a function app, yeah, any of the Azure services on Azure VM and all, so we need to see how we can monitor your application. So we have a various monitoring tool like a Splunk and Azure Monitor. So if you're working with the Azure, so mostly you'll get a chance to work on the Azure Monitor. So we'll see what are the functionality inside the Azure Monitor, and we'll see how we can create a Azure Monitor and log analytics. So this is the DevOps lifecycle. If you see, it is in circle, means if you have any issue while means after operations, if you'll find any issue, then again we need to do planning. Means again we need to see how we can improve your application, and the cycle will be repeating again. So if you see like it is endless cycle, we have to plan it, code it, build, release and all. And since DevOps is automate most of the process, okay, like a CI CD testing and all these things, before that it was happening from the manually and all this thing. Now it has means the main purpose of DevOps is to automate all this process, project discussions process. So it takes the lesser times as compared to the like previously. And if you say we have like a end-to-end journey, like starting from like how to store the code and how to monitor the applications. So we'll see like a end-to-end project journey. So if you'll see, we have few common tools for the planning. We have a Jira and all, and we can use for the build Maven and all these things plugins. So we'll just see a few, or we'll not be covering all the tools from this. Like we will be mostly covering related to the Azure DevOps. So I'll just not go like completely through PPT because this is the demo class. So I just want to show you more about like a practical sessions, and also I straightforward logging into Azure DevOps. Oh. So this is the Azure DevOps. The URL is dev.azure.com. So you can sign up in the Azure DevOps. Yeah, I can add you in I can add you also. So for if you see we have so once we'll sign up, we'll get organizations and all. So first thing what you need to do, you need to create a project. Okay, so we'll create a new project for, I'll give for, and again this is the description. So this is completely optional, means you can put then why it is
Hello, Keshav.
creating. Yeah, hello, any doubt? No, okay. So this is the project name and this is description. This is completely optional. And then again, if you see like we have like a visibility as a public and private. So if you're creating it the public mode, so anybody who having that access like organizational access, they will be able to see the project. So it is always recommended to go ahead with the private ones. So the people who having the access to your project only will be able to see the project, because once you'll be creating project, we'll get all the feature of the Azure DevOps. So I'll go ahead and create a project. Okay, and this is how the Azure DevOps look like. So if you'll see this Azure DevOps, we have mainly services in the left sections. You can see that it has started with the dashboards and so wiki. So wiki phase is kind of like how we have a wiki phase over the internet. So it is just like a similar concept to a wiki. If you want to document anything about your project and requirement and all, we can create the wiki phase and we can put all. And if you see this, the board is nothing but one, it's come for the project planning. So it is one of the project planning tools. So where you can create a sprint. Again, you might be aware about the agile way of working if you're already working and all. So if not, then I can explain you once we'll start a proper class what is the agile and the sprint concept and all, just for like a 15-20 minutes. So if you see in the Azure board, mainly it is for project planning tools, and we can where we can create a work item. So work item is nothing but like your tags and the epic and bug and all, and then you can create your board where you can see all your work item. Then backlog is, it is again for the agile concept. Backlog is what is the next priority items you need to pick up once you will finish this task. And then the sprint concept is, the sprint is of like a 2 or 3 week based on the organization, where in this 2 week of time we will get some dedicated work to complete. And all these things like a delivery plan and queries filter and all, you can make this. So if you'll go here, see, if we'll see, you can create a new work item and their type is like a epic, issue and task. So we need to understand what is epic is, issue and task. So basically if you're working as a DevOps engineer, you don't have to worry about like a creation of the epic and all. This is more about like a solution architect work, and this is more about the business analyst who will be taking care of creating a epic issue and all. But we just need to know how we can use this board. If we will get any tasks assigned, how we can comment your progress, how we can change the status of the task and all. So we'll see this in details. I'll just quickly cover what are the services available inside the Azure board. So once we are done with the project planning, so we'll see we have repository. This is it is kind of like a storage and where you can save your code. So we need to create a repository. If you see in the repository, we having the option like commit, push, branch, tag, and the pull request. So commit is nothing but if you are changing anything. So so every change will have a commit ID. On the basis of the commit ID only, you'll be able to identify what was the change in the code and all. Then again, we have like a branching a strategy. So again, branching a strategy is kind of so suppose if we are maintaining a different environment, we can maintain the different versions of the code with respect to the environment. So We'll see all these in detail. I'm just going through what are the functionality available here. And then we have a pull request. This pull request is basically to move your code. So suppose you are working in the development environment now, and you have kept your code in dev branch. So how we can move once your unit testing is done and all, you need to move your code into higher branch like a test branch, yeah, prod branch. And how we can do that? So for that we need to create a pull request. So pull request is basically to move your code from one branch to another branch. And then if you'll come, we have a next functionality in Azure DevOps is Azure Pipeline. This is called Azure Pipeline. And inside this, you can see there are various functionality available inside the pipeline. So first one is a pipeline. This is called like a build pipeline. So if you want to create any build pipeline, we can click here and create your build pipeline. Again, we have mainly like dealing with the two type of pipeline in Azure DevOps. One is a classic editor and another is a YAML based pipeline. So what is different between classic editor and YAML based pipeline is, so classic editor pipeline is a kind of like a means you are manually calling all the step, you are adding tags and all these things. And ML is the automation of the same tasks. Means if you have like a 4 tasks in your pipeline, we can automate all the 4 tasks. And what is the advantage of using ML pipeline is, if your pipeline accidentally got deleted, so if you have created a classic editor pipeline, we need to do all these integrations and calling all the tags and all these things once again and all. If your ML based pipeline is got deleted, we can just create in a single click. You just have to call that ML file. So we'll see all these thing in detail. And then we have the environment. So this environment is nothing but, so suppose if you want to use a single pipeline, your same pipeline, and you want like that your same pipeline will take care of deployment in all the environment. So we can assign the environment, we can create an environment, and we can enable some checks and all these things. So like I will create an environment, and so suppose like you cannot give permission anybody to deploy anything in the production environment. So you need to handle the scenario. So production, if anybody is doing the production deployment, it should go with the approvals and some checks and all. So you can create an environment and you can attach this environment to your pipeline, and you can enable the checks, securities and all with respect to the environment. We'll see that. And then we have the next item is release. So we have this release pipeline. Again, this is called the CD pipeline. So you can create, so once your core CI pipeline is completed, we can create a CD pipeline, and every CD pipeline will be linked with the CI pipeline. And then coming to library, so this library is nothing but it have like a because we need to handle some variable along with your pipeline. So there is a various way of handling the variable. We can either pass the variable directly into the pipeline, that is called pipeline variable. Yeah, you can create a variable group. So if you see that we have you can create a variable group, and here you can add this variable. So this variable group is come in picture. I suppose if you have some common variable, like if you have for the dev environment, you have some common variable like a dev subscription ID and your tenant ID, password, and key and all with related to like a dev environment. So instead of passing all these environment related parameter in every pipeline, the best way we can do is we can create a variable group, and we can add all this value and key and value. And every time if you have to use this environment variable, we can just attach this variable group in your pipeline. And also there is other way, like the third way is we can link the Azure keyboard. So if you see this, we can link the Azure keyboard. So we'll once we'll discuss about the cloud services, we'll see what the keyboard and all. So we just need to know keyboard is a kind of like a holder, okay, which hold your all the key and secret. Means you can create a keyboard in Azure subscription, and where you can keep safely your all the password, key, secrets and all, and we can link this keyboard to the variable group, and we can enable all this password. And also in this way, that will be highly like a secure way of passing the variable. So if you are keeping your password and key in the keyboard, it is like a less chance to get exposed and all. So that is all about the library. And if you see, the task group is nothing but if you have created the classic editor pipeline and you have called some tasks, okay, so what you can do, and you have given some configurations and all. So if you want to automate that configuration, so we can create a task group for that. So if you are next time, if you are doing if you are calling the task, we don't have to do configurations once again. We can just go ahead and straightly call this task group. We can name it the task group, and it will be available in the inside your like a plugin. So once you see this, it will be more clear to you, and you can even create a deployment group. Like we have various type of deployment, like a container based deployment and the .zip deployment and all these things. So we can define that your deployment group. And then again, if you'll see here, we have the test plan here. So again, if you this is more about for the tester and all, if they want to write the test plan and load the test report and all these things, test script, we can do it here. And even you can upload your script like a JMeter script, and if you want to do any performance testing and all, and you can run it here. So it will provide you, like if you see, you can upload your test script and you can run using the test plan. And then next functionality is artifact. So if you see, this artifact is mainly used, so once suppose if you have built your applications, so we'll get a like a deployable package. So suppose if you are dealing with the Java applications, once we'll build these Java applications, we'll get the jar file, right? So we'll get some deployable package, and also we need to zip that and put that into artifact, because once we'll be creating a release pipeline, we have to take this artifact and deploy it into the target server. So this is all about the services available in Azure DevOps. So if you want to come out of this, you can just click on the Azure DevOps icon. It will list on all the project. So you'll be only able to see if you have access to this project. Otherwise, the public project will be visible. And if you want to add anybody inside your project, we can invite it from here. We just need their email ID and we can invite them to this project. So once they will accept the invitations, they will be the part of this DevOps. And again, we have all this. I'll just show you some basic settings and all. So here we have profile setting, times and permission and all, where you can set the permission and all. We have various role in the Azure DevOps, like a reader role, admin role, contributor role and all. So based on the role, like if you have if you want anybody to give like a complete access and all, we can give the admin role and all. So you'll see, with respect to admin role, they will be able to delete the project, able to delete the repository and all these things. So all these like a access label will be listed there, what the admin will be able to do. We can either assign somebody as a contributor role, and also it based on like a completely like a role management kind of thing. And then this notification, if you'll get any notifications, we'll be able to see. And all themes and usages, just if you had to change the themes of the for Azure DevOps. And here, and the main thing is here like a pat, this is nothing but pat is the personal access token. So this is needed once we want to connect this Azure DevOps from the externally. So suppose you if are trying to add the agent, so that time you need to authenticate with your like Azure DevOps. Okay, so you can now the password based authentication is disabled by the Microsoft. So we need to go with the pad. So you can create a pad. So if you want to create a pad or like a, you can just do that, and we can create a new pad. Just so you can give the pet name, and then here you can see the expiry date. You can custom define it also, just go with the 30 days. And then again, if you had to define the access label of this pet, means using this pet, or what we'll be able to do. So you can either provide the read access, read and write access, read write and the manage access. You can even give the full access. And also using this pet, we'll be able to connect this. So you can create this pet, and you can copy a pet, and we can keep it safely. So this will be used when we need to. So this one will be used when we want to connect with your Azure DevOps. So we need to provide the URL of the project as well as your like authentication type pet. And this is all about like a few setting. And then if we'll come here, we have like a project setting here. Inside a project setting, again we have like our teams and all. We can call anybody can create a new teams. Okay, so I am like a only one member here. We can add the member here, and if you see this permission, so we having this type of permissions assigned. So if we have the contributor, the one team has got the contributor access, and product administration, who is the product admin and all, and project valid user, reader, release administration. And also these are the team. We can add any of this permission to the team. If we can create a new team, and we can add the permission. And then we have like a board setting. So here we have the option to create a GitHub connection. So suppose if you are using now, the GitHub is also owned by the Microsoft, and Azure repo is owned by the Microsoft. So they have given the direct connection. And also suppose if you are keeping your source code in GitHub, you can create a GitHub connections. So GitHub connections can be created. So once you'll create a GitHub connection, so means you will be able to, means you are basically linking the GitHub with the Azure DevOps. So that we'll see how we can link that. And then we have this the pool concept, the agent concept. So every pipeline need a agent to run. So, okay, so basically we have two type of agent. One is like a Microsoft hosted, like a cloud hosted agent, and other one is a private agent. So we can add your private virtual machine server as a agent. So because every pipeline needs some agent to run. Okay, and if you see this agent pool we have, so if you see we have this default. If we'll go inside this agent, so this is the agent. So now agent is offline, and we need to see, we need to understand how we can add. If you have any VM and you want to that add that as a agent, so we'll see that how we can add it, add the private agent. And if we'll go back, we have the cloud hosted agent also. I'll see the agent hosted detail, agent detail in detail. And if you see, we have this cloud hosted. So this is like a managed by the Microsoft. So if you are working with the cloud hosted, we don't have any control and all. And also suppose if you want to run the Java applications, your Java need to be installed on the agent. Okay, so we can create a Linux VM, and you can add that as an agent, and you can download or install any of the software app logging on top of your agent. So as of now, I'm just giving you what are the functionality available. And then we have, see if this is the service connections. Again, one of, so this, if you want to connect any third party tool, so within this, so you can connect, you can create a service connection. So, and you can use this service connection to connect to any third party. So if you want to integrate this Azure DevOps with your Azure Cloud, you can go into the Azure Resource Manager. And if you see, we have a various connection available. If you want to connect with the Bitbucket, we can go with the Bitbucket connection, GitHub, Docker registry, Docker Hub, and Jenkins, Jira, Maven, and all like a Python's package and all, Visual Studio Code, and Sonar Cloud, SSS. So if you like a, if you want to integrate, if you with the third party tools with your Azure DevOps, we can create a service connections. Okay, and So the first thing, if you are creating like a CDI and CD pipeline, so there are some prerequisites. So because we are going to deploy some Azure services on Azure Cloud, okay, so we need to create a service connection, because your Azure DevOps is altogether a third-party tool. How it come to know where it need to deploy and all these things. So once you'll create a service connection, it means we are integrating your Azure DevOps with the Azure Cloud. So it will be able to know how means of where it need to deploy and all. So we can identify the Azure Cloud based on the subscription ID, tenant ID, client secret, and the client ID. So we'll see what all these are available, means the client ID, client secret, and all. And then we have a repository. Repository is nothing but Azure repo. We have like a various settings and default brands and the policies. We can also set some securities and all, user permissions, and also see if can set some user permissions or what they will be able to do and all. We can attach some policy to, like suppose if you don't want anybody to direct checking in your branch code and all, so we can add some policies on your repository. And this is the artifact, again, that storage and all. Be able to see all these packages and all. Artifact type, again we have like a two type of artifact type. Just 1 minute, guy, I'm just getting. Hello. Yeah, so again, if you see this, the storage and mm, storage, we can see there is two type of artifact we can create: server based and the file based artifact. So these are some of the important setting inside Azure DevOps. And we have to like I start with the Azure board, and then Azure, yeah, we can start with the Azure repo. So we'll see how we can create Azure repo and all. So any doubt so far? And if you can provide your email ID, I can add that into this project. So we'll be able to access it and do some practice.
Okay. So like, can we cover all these things in this 22 sessions?
Yes, so I'll be covering you starting with the board. Okay, I'll cover all these like a board and backlog sprint and all. And then repository, all this functionality inside the repository. I'll just create 2-3 pull requests and show you. And I'll even show you some basic git command, how we can set local repository, how we can push the code from the local repository and all. And then pipeline, I'll not be dealing the pipeline with the real time of the code, but with some basic code, some simple basic code. So I'll create some Terraform pipeline and all, that we see how we can deploy into, how we can use this pipeline to deploy it into the Azure cloud. Okay, and I'll not be covering like a test plan. There's like a theoretical of the test plan, and then artifact I'll be covering. That is all about like Azure DevOps. So on this, all the topic at least takes like almost 3 sessions at least, like a 2-3 classes based on like a complexity. So if you're talking about the repo, it will take at least 3 classes. But we need to see how we can create the repository, and then we need to set up a local repository. We'll practice some git command and all, and similarly on the pipeline and all. And I'll be covering you some basic of, for that I need a Azure subscription. So I'll be talking to so if you'll see here, this is nothing but the Azure Cloud on the portal.azure.com. Even you can sign up your Azure Cloud. And I'll need one of the Azure Cloud, and in this Azure Cloud, I'll be talking about a few of the common services, like we have resource group, Key Vault, VNet, Subnet, and then Azure VM. And if you are talking about the Docker, we need to talk about the AKS, Azure Docker and Kubernetes. So we'll talk about the Azure Kubernetes services, and for Docker, we'll talk about the Azure Container Registry, Function app, Wave app, and and Azure Monitor. So like 10 and 12 services I'll be covering you. That's basic. I'll be showing you how we can create these services, and how we can create these services, how we can automate the creation of this, and then I'll be also covering you like Azure CLI, how we can use the Azure CLI, because we need to know the basic of the Azure CLI. This will help you in debugging and executing some script and all. And then we'll see the infrastructure as a code. In that, we'll be talking in detail like Ansible and Terraform. So where we'll create, so Ansible is a bit complex, so we need to see how we can install the Ansible, and how we can run the playbook, how we can write a playbook and all. And in the Terraform, we'll write some Terraform module, and we'll try to create the Azure services using a Terraform. So these are all things we'll be covering in 22 days.
Okay.
So any doubt? So this is the like I have shown you like the topic I'll be covering and all. I'll be starting that actual like a sessions, and I'll start with the project planning from tomorrow. And before that, I need Azure subscription for that, and we can sign up for Azure DevOps or Azure on Azure DevOps, and we'll complete all the prerequisites, and we'll see. We'll start it. And I'll share this, so most probably I'll not be going through the PPT and all for all the topics and all. So I can share you few PPT links and some Udemy links to go through you. And so mainly we'll be seeing, we'll be doing it from the DevOps and the portal. So mainly this will be like a walking kind of like a walking sessions. I'll do the things and I'll show you.
Okay.
Okay, so this is all about for the today's like a class, and since it was a demo class for like a half an hour, and I'll be taking actual class based on your like a feedback.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
so Ganesh, anything I need to cover?
From my end, nothing actually. And Preeti, do you have any questions?
No. Am I the only person in the class?
No, actually, like two more supposed to join, but due to one guy is having a shift by 9:30, so he dropped, and the other guy having some network issue. There is no power in his home. So I
Okay.
told you right, like if your time is, then we are okay with 6:30 in the morning Indian time, 6:30
Okay.
a.m. EST.
6:30 would be 9 o'clock. Okay. That's fine. Can we do it at 7 o'clock?
Actually, 7:30, Mr. Rahul have some other meetings.
7 I am not
Okay.
available, guys. Like I say, I can available from like a 7 to 7:30 only, because 7:30 I have daily meetings.
Okay. 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 That's fine then.
Yeah, sure. Sure. But I just check with others also, and I'll update you, Rahul, when we can start, and I'll share with them this demo video. Then we can plan accordingly.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you can tell me your expectations clearly, how much deep you want to go and all. But at the end of this training, you'll be able to know about the basic of all the services like Azure DevOps.
Let's see. Right now, I do have. I mean, I know few things. I know some basics. Uh, um, how to say, like, now what I'm looking is I should be able to create a pipeline completely,
Okay.
and I should be able to create the infrastructure in Azure, and I should be able to deploy it. And the main concentration would be, right now I know some concepts, I know things, but when somebody asks a question like in an interview or something, I mean, I'm not able to explain them. So that is the reason I wanted to
Okay,
take
okay. So
the
I'll share
training.
you some like interview question. We'll discuss on the interview questions also. We'll see if you have. So I'll give you like the process and all. I am not going to. I'm going to work with that real time of code and all. I don't have. So you can
Okay.
start with like a real time of code by your own self. Means I can guide you and I can help you and all. But I'll tell you the process, all the process and also. Suppose if I have to build the Docker image. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
give you all the process. I'll build with a simple image, just like a 3 and 4 line of the code. And if you have like a
Okay.
big code, like a $3,000, because the process is going to be same. So I'll just
Yeah.
tell you the process and the command and all this thing I'll give you. I'll show you. I'll do the things. I'll show you, and we can build your own real time of project if you want to like actually work with the real time project.
Okay. Okay.
In that I can help you. But if you know the process, means you know the things. That is the expectation, because if you are not responsible for building the code and all these thing, applications code in your team. If will be start working on the real time project, and the developer will be there, they will help you out to figure the code.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That's it. I don't have any other questions. So we'll be covering the YAML pipeline also, right?
Yes, I'll be showing you how to write a YAML file, how we can validate the YAML, how we can parameterize few of the thing inside a YAML. I'll be not, it is not that basic and all. Means all this code will be, even you can take the reference of code in your project also.
Okay.
So at least
Okay.
I'll be covering on that level. Means whatever the required thing is there, I'll just tell you, but it will not be exact. The only thing I want to mention here, it will not be with the exact real working code and all, but the process and everything will be the same. You can use this code if you are working, and you'll see how we can pass the variable in your pipeline, how we can parameterize the environment, how we can parameterize the automation, how we can parameterize the tool and all, how we can create, how we can select that and all while running the pipeline, how we can provide any value while runtime, and also that all we need to know if you are working in real time of project. So that all I'll be teaching you.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. I don't have any other questions. I'm good.
Okay, thank you. So Ganesh, you can update me when to start and what is their feedback.
Sure, sure. I'll just check with them and everyone, and I'll make a group and I'll update you.
Okay,
We can plan.
okay,
I'll confirm at least 1 or 2 days before.
okay, sure. Thank you. Thanks
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Bye.
Thank you, Priti. Thank you, Rahul. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.